Hello Football Daily fans and welcome back to Winners and Losers. As you may have noticed, the season is finished, so we're going to do a transfer special edition starting with Manchester City. Why is that, Patrick?
Well, they've already raced ahead of the rest of their Premier League rivals by securing 2 deals early doors. They snapped up Bernardo Silva for a fee thought to be around £43 million, and now they've bought Brazilian goalkeeper Edison Moraes for about 34.7 million. Now, last summer they made Claudio Bravo the 3rd most expensive keeper of all time. This summer, Edison is the most expensive in that position ever. And so there's a lot of pressure on the man. It beats the £33 million that Juventus paid for Gianluigi Buffon back in 2001. So this record stood for 16 years. But is there any evidence that would suggest that Edison can rival the Italian?
Well, the young Brazilian only established himself in that Benfica side last season, but what a season he had. In 27 league appearances, he kept 17 clean sheets, Pato. And for every goal he let in, he made 4 saves. That's significantly higher than the likes of De Gea, Lloris and Courtois. Of course, they play in the Premier League, which is a strong league, so maybe not the best point of comparison. But on the subject of goals conceded, in those 27 appearances, he only let 12 goals in. That's crazy. I mean, someone like Claudio Bravo, who made 5 appearances more than the young Brazilian, let in 26. Mental. Now, if you're wondering what type of goalkeeper he is as well, he makes around 2.27 catches per game, so he's a commanding presence in that box. That's higher than the likes of Oblak, who was at Benfica before as well, wasn't he? A lot of Benfica fans in the comments and on my timeline as well have been saying that he's better than Oblak, and these guys know a good goalkeeper when they see one, but only time will tell if this is a good transfer, Pato. Does it inspire you with confidence if you're a Man City fan?
I don't really know. I don't really know if it does. I think that, look, they've paid an awful lot of money for him, so obviously they have some faith there. And as you've said, his raw numbers look decent. I think 4 saves for every goal, that's very exciting. But, of course, when you're playing on the dominant team in a league, it's likely that they restrict the quality of shots their opponents can take. So it will be intriguing to see how this one goes. How do you feel about it, City fans? What do you think of Edison? And also, what do you think of Bernardo Silva? We've barely touched on him, but the little Portuguese looks very, very exciting indeed. Let us know in the comments below. Liverpool are our first losers of the week. Chris, what's gone on with the Reds?
Yes, Pato, Jurgen Klopp has been left with egg on his face as that big money move for Virgil van Dijk has seemingly fell by the wayside. You're going to tell us why, but Liverpool really need to add to their ranks, don't they? That lack of depth cost them domestically last season, and looking forward into a European campaign, they cannot just sign Dominic Solanke. They're losing ground in the likes of Manchester City. Manchester United have sounded out some very big, ambitious targets, the likes of Alvaro Morata, and for them to have only signed Dominic Solanke at this point, it might be causing some Liverpool fans a bit of concern. Obviously, Solanke impressed hugely in that Under-20 World Cup. He looks like a fantastic prospect, but that is an awful lot of responsibility to put on young shoulders. Pato, I mean, if they sign Mo Salah, great, but defensively, Matip, Lovren, they need to add someone, and it's not going to be Virgil van Dijk, is it?
Well, it seemed like they were on the verge of a real coup at the beginning of summer when Virgil van Dijk was linked very heavily with them. Of course, Man City were after him, Chelsea were after him, but we heard from multiple reliable sources that Liverpool was his preferred destination. Liverpool were going to pay £60 million for the centre-back, which was going to break their transfer record by £25 million and make him the most expensive defender of all time. But then Southampton reported Liverpool for illegally tapping up the player. That basically means going behind their back and speaking to him, trying to get an agreement. Apparently Jurgen Klopp texted him, told him about what his role would be if he were to move to Anfield, and now Liverpool have had to apologise and end their pursuit of the player. Now, this isn't actually the first time. In 2012, they got themselves in trouble when they were after Clint Dempsey, ended up having to give up on him as well, and he went to Tottenham Hotspur. That time, they got lucky, but this time, they've missed out on somebody who could have been an immediate fix for that back line. It's a really, really disappointing turnout for Liverpool fans. I don't really know where they're going to find somebody to match up to him. When will they learn?
Next up is Manchester United. Pato, please tell me more.
Well, their transfer window looked like it had been disrupted a little bit. Antoine Griezmann is obviously going to stay at Atletico Madrid after they had their transfer ban upheld, but now United have quickly made moves which looks like they could spend up to 100 million euros in just a few days. Now on Friday, reports emerged that Alvaro Morata was going to move to Man United, that he'd agreed terms. Supposedly they're waiting to agree a fee. Madrid have rejected 60 million euros, apparently want closer to 78 million pounds. So it'll be intriguing to see where that one gets done. And of course, Swedish centre-back Victor Lindelof, that has actually been finalised. 35 million euros to Benfica, with a further 10 million payable on his performances. Now, along with Ederson last season, he was in a defence which of course won a league and cup double. Very impressive stuff. He's 22 years old. He's been an ever-present for Sweden since making his international debut last year. And for Benfica in 2016-17, he made 47 appearances. So it looks like he's ready to make the step up. But how will he fit into that defence?
I'm guessing he'd partner Bayern in that centre-back berth with Valencia on the right. He was very impressive last season, wasn't he? Mourinho's debut season. And maybe Darmian or Luke Shaw on the left. I mean, Rojo was pretty impressive at centre-back after moving from left-back prior to his injury, wasn't he? But whether or not Mourinho sees him as a long-term option remains to be seen. Now, Lindelof has had an excellent couple of years for Benfica and was an ever-present in that side last season, which only lost 2 games and conceded 18 league goals. However, we do have some interesting stats down here. I mean, he was winning just 0.5 tackles per 90 in the league and making 1.62 interceptions. Their figures better by the likes of Bailly, Jones and Blind, which only goes to beg the question, what is being asked of these Benfica defenders? And the answer might be not very much. They're dominating games, they're dominating possession. As we said, they've only lost twice. So Lindelof will have to make a big step up to the Premier League. There's no qualms about that. But he's a ball-playing centre-back, he's comfortable on the ball. So that's one big plus for United. I think he's made the most passes out of any Benfica defender last year. He's very Bonucci-esque in that fashion. I think Morata would be their biggest signing in terms of making a signal of intent, wouldn't it? And whether or not he comes in could be crucial to United's next season and their ambitions in Europe. But what do you guys think? Lindelof, good signing. Morata, is he out of their reaches? Let us know in the comments below.
Next up are Roma in our losers category. Chris, what's going on with them?
Mamma mia, Pazzo. Well, obviously, at the end of May, they parted ways with Luciano Spalletti just 2 days after he led them to a record points tally in Serie A, finishing second. Had a very impressive season, didn't they? Great to watch, very entertaining. But I think fans, I mean, it's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back at the moment, isn't it? Signing Monchi, the sporting director from Sevilla. He obviously had a very impressive track record there, making them competitive on a shoestring budget. But now that search for a manager begins, and with Spalletti going to Inter Milan, they now have to look over their shoulders yet again at their rivals. He's only going to make them stronger. I think he's got a better win ratio everywhere he's gone for the last 5 or 6 seasons. And they're going to have to make a really savvy signing, aren't they, to stay in that bracket just below Juventus.
Yeah, well, it's frustrating because Monchi, you want him to come in and immediately be hitting the ground running with transfers. But the thing is, he delayed his decision on which club he was going to go to until very, very late in the season. And as a result, he might not have done that much preparatory work. Instead, now he's going to have to focus on getting in that new head coach. Now, they've been linked with Eusebio Di Francesco from Sassuolo. Of course, Unai Emery, who worked with Monchi at Sevilla. He might be on the market as well. We don't really know. Thomas Tuchel is still available too. So it'll be intriguing to see what he does there. But once that happens, he's going to have to work on this squad. Of course, Francesco Totti left and his role has been diminished over the last few seasons, but he's still a big presence. De Rossi's getting on too. So we'll see what they end up doing in the transfer window. The problem is their focus is not on making moves in the market at the moment, and that could cost them come the start of the Serie A season.
Our next winners very early on in this transfer period are Arsenal. Why is that?
Yeah, well, Arsene Wenger loves a bargain, and he's kicked off his new 2-year contract at the Emirates with a move for Bosnian left-back Serge Kolasinac, who arrives from Schalke on a free. Now, the player was actually in very high demand. Chelsea went after him in January but couldn't convince Schalke to let him go. Man City and AC Milan both wanted him this window, and Arsenal have managed to wrap him up. Now, he looks like a good addition. He can play as a left wing back, as a left back, and as a centre back on the left of a back 3. So he's going to add versatility. He's a big guy, he's strong, he's very, very fast. and his performances this season have shown his versatility. He's actually played as a wing-back and just as an out-and-out winger, and as a result, in his 25 Bundesliga games, he scored 3 goals and got 5 assists, also grabbing a couple of assists in the Europa League as Schalke made the quarter-finals. He's got some very impressive defensive numbers as well, doesn't he?
As you say, built like a brick shithouse, which often doesn't lend to a defender of that stature having attacking prowess, does it? But he creates a chance every game in the league. That's significantly higher than Monreal's 0.4. So he looks like a good upgrade on the Spaniard. And as you say, he can play multiple positions, so there's that tactical flexibility there. So if Monreal stays in that back three, which he looked quite assured in, didn't he, in the last couple of games at least, then Kolasinac can go out wide. He also averaged 3.4 interceptions per game, as well as 2.2 tackles.
Wow.
That's more than Monreal, Mustafi and Koscielny, so a huge defensive output too.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't know how many tackles Schalke are making as a team and what their defensive schematics are like in general. But yes, former coach Jens Keller described him as a tree. I've been called a lot worse, have you? A tree. Saying he gets hit on the head, but shakes it off and continues to play superbly. So this should bode well for the physical nature of the Premier League. You know, have you got any other fun nicknames for players? Let us know in the comments below.
The final person we're going to talk about this week is Serge Gnabry. He's made his move to Bayern Munich from Werder Bremen. Chris, I know that we feel slightly differently about this.
Yeah, this is kind of why he's in our limbo section. Is he a winner? Is he a loser? Hopefully you guys will decide for us. I think after 11 goals in 27 appearances for Werder Bremen, the young German deserves his shot at the big time. Obviously, took that brave decision to leave Arsenal when he wasn't getting minutes. Went down to Bremen. He's impressed sufficiently enough to get a move to the Bavarians. Now, Pato, my only concern is his output going to be as good as Douglas Costa's, who, when he plays, tends to do pretty well, doesn't he?
Sure.
Now, Liverpool and Juventus are sniffing around him, and he could cost upwards of 20 million. And with Bayern Munich reportedly signing Gnabry for only 8, which is an absolute steal, they're going to make money either way, aren't they? One, if Gnabry doesn't play, they'll sell him for more than that moving forward. And two, if Costa moves and they bring in Gnabry, they effectively get someone who's as flexible in the forward areas of the pitch, and they make a bit of money, and he's a little bit younger, and he's German. So for me, a lot of winning scenarios, but I do acknowledge there is some losing ones here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard, isn't it, to put him in our losers after the season he's had and after this big move. But it is a little bit strange. Of course, when he was at Arsenal, he complained about not getting enough minutes. He went to Werder Bremen, found the minutes. He's been linked with Hoffenheim, so he could have gone to a Champions League team, played under a very good coach.
Yep.
He would have probably finished in the top 3 or 4 in the Bundesliga, and he'd have got that European experience. Instead, he's decided to go to Bayern. Now, it looks like he may stay, he may be loaned out. We still don't really know. And if he couldn't get minutes at Arsenal, I'm not sure he's going to get them there unless Ancelotti is extremely confident in the player. For my money, it would be better if he just had 2 or 3 years learning at a club slightly below that top level, and he still would have been young and he'd have had a chance to go to a big club again. I'm not sure that he's going to replace Ribery or Robben in the long term. Of course, Kingsley Coman couldn't get many minutes for Bayern last season, so I'm not really sure how this is going to pan out for Serge Gnabry. But what do you guys think? Is it a good move for him or a bad move for him? Is he going to score a load of goals, be a new hero for the club, or is he going to rot on the bench? Let us know in the poll up there.
So that was this week's winners and losers, guys. We're going to be doing more of these, lucky you, in the off-season based around transfers. Do you like it? Do you not? Let us know in the comments below, or get at us on Twitter.
Yeah, stay right here on Football Daily if you enjoyed this. Check out some 11s, check out some 10s, check out VFN from last week, which has my boy Chris Hamill on it. And of course, go over and watch Stat Wars on Euro Football Daily, the actual good stuff.
Premium content.
And like and subscribe.
Oh yeah.
Bye.